Yo, 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 what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman420 with the Weedman420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal with some Runtz, grown by our friend Ignius, and Runtz is an evenly balanced hybrid strain 50-50, created through the delicious cross of the infamous Skittles, and Gelato strains. Named for the iconic candy, Runtz brings on super delicious fruity flavor with tropical citrus and sour berries galore. The aroma is very similar, although with a sharp, spicy pineapple effect that turns slightly pungent as the sticky little nugs are broken apart and burned. The Runtz high comes roaring in a few minutes after your final toke, first hitting your head with a calming lift before spreading its tingly tendrils throughout the rest of your body. Ooh,
Wow.
tendrils. As the results high expands, you'll begin to feel deeply calming effects spread through your limbs, leaving you totally sedated and couch locked and movable for hours and hours. I love it. In the end, before you finally fall into a deep and peaceful sleep. Thanks to these effects, and it's super high, between like 19 and 29%, depending on the grow, THC level, Runtz is often said to be the perfect for treating conditions such as insomnia, chronic pain, appetite loss, or nausea, and chronic stress or anxiety. This bud has high, dense, grape-shaped olive green nugs with the orange hairs, dark purple undertones, and a coating of frosty, tiny purple tinted crystal trichomes. The effects: calming, hungry, relaxing, sleepy, uplifting. May relieve anxiety, chronic pain, insomnia, nausea, and stress. The flavors are fruity, pineapple, spicy, sweet, tropical, and the aromas are earthy, herbal, sour, spicy, sweet, and tropical. And that is Runtz. And I'd like to thank our friend Ignius for throwing to the cause. Thank you, Ignius. And we've smoked this on the show prior when we first got it from him. And this strain is very, very good. So well done, Ignius. We appreciate you throwing to the cause. And right now, we are in the frozen tundra of Illinois and the whole Midwest and also the Northeast. But while you're all freezing your buns off, Mrs. Weedman is going to tell you a little bit about 8decades.com. Tell us about it, Mrs.
Yes.
Weedman.
You can head over to visit our website, 8decades.com. That is the word 8, EIGHT. And there you will find our 8 Decades brand. So we started the brand as a continuation of our advocacy, and we created smoking accessories that are just intended to be out and displayed rather than stashed away. Get away from stashing, get away from stigmas, and use high quality things to enjoy your cannabis with. So head on over and check us out. We've got storage jars, we've got grinders, steamrollers, rolling trays, multi-tools, ashtrays, really nice hemp clothing, and all sorts of other things. And you can also find Weedman 420 swag there, along with links to the podcast. So head on over to 8 Decades. If you sign up for our newsletter, you will get free shipping on your first order. Check it
Thank,
out.
thank you, Mrs. Weedman. And as
Sure,
we always
Mr.
say,
Weedman.
if you support 8decades.com, you support the show, and we can pay our producer, Shoddy. So we thank you for supporting 8decades.com. Also, we're trying to get to 1,000 followers on YouTube. Go ahead and go to YouTube and subscribe. We'd love you to do it and listen to a couple episodes. You can see Mrs. Weedman and I face. Not ready at this moment because we're still doing our studio. Still not ready yet. Carpet's coming in on Friday, everybody, though. And also painting should be done by Thursday. So we're getting there. But yeah, so subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then go ahead and you can go to Buzzsprout also, or there's a link on our YouTube channel or one of the links, and anything that you listen to, any audio or video you listen to on us, there is a link to Buzzsprout where you can donate to the cause, and we appreciate that. So once again, so we can pay our producer, Shoddy, because she deserves it. She's a badass. So thank you all out there for all the support and the love, and it is fucking cold,
Mm,
like really cold.
yeah.
This is Tuesday, January 20th, but on Monday here in the state of Illinois, we had the frozen tundra hit, and it was, with the wind chill, it was, I would say, negative 25 degrees at one point with the wind chill. That is cold. Not as cold as 2015 when it was negative 45.
Ugh,
That was cold
it
with the wind
was
chill.
that
Yeah,
cold?
in 2015, it got down to negative 45 in certain areas of the Midwest.
Holy cow.
And we were part of that. So they're calling this the polar vortex 2, I guess, this one. And this is lasting
A while.
A while. This cold is going to be for another like 10 days before
Oof.
we might see like 20s or 30s. They're saying this is going to stick around for a little bit. So, welcome to the Arctic of Illinois and the Midwest and the Northeast because they're getting whacked too. Down south, they're going to
Mhm.
get snow.
Yeah.
Florida supposedly might get a little flurry.
Northern Florida's
Northern
getting some
Florida,
snows.
yeah, cold. We were talking to Ma 420, and she was complaining that it was 30 degrees in the morning. I'm like, "Pff, that's a heat wave, mom. That's 55 degrees warmer than Illinois right now where we live." And she's like, bah, like we were bad. It was funny. So we were just busting chops about how cold Florida is. I'm like, get out of here. You don't know nothing about cold compared to what we're feeling right now. The only thing not even a person, animal that I know that likes going out in this cold right now is Yuki.
Yeah, she's even shortening her time,
She
though.
has been, but she
She's like,
still
"Yeah,
likes
I'll
going
just
out
go
there.
walk around for a second and come right back in."
Sunday night, though, she was basically I let her out around 9 o'clock, and I'm like, "Where is this dog?" This is before Monday, before the real cold hit. She was laying in the snow,
Mhm.
just laying there,
Just waiting for
and
someone to
I
come
knocked on
play.
the window, she didn't move. I knocked on the window, she didn't move. Usually when I knock on the window, she'll come running to the door. She did not get off that snow. She was in heaven, laying in there for about a good 20 minutes, and finally I was like, "Will you get your butt in here? I don't wanna wait for you anymore." Yeah, you are correct, though. She has been shortening her time
Yeah.
outside. It is a little nipply out there.
Even for her.
Even for her,
Hmm.
so stay warm out there, everybody. It can only go up from here, right? The
That's right.
temperature?
I mean, hey, I sure hope it's not going down any lower. Could you imagine?
So, it's gonna be nuts. So, stay warm out there, stay protected, wear extra gear, and just, you don't have to go outside, don't go. Stock your fridge up and enjoy the cold, Watch some movies, catch up on some fucking shows, right? It's a good time.
Yeah.
Get some good weed, watch some shows, catch up on some books, listen to the Weedman 420 Chronicles podcast, some of the older episodes. Just this is the time, January, February is the time to reset, refresh, because you ain't going out in this shit. So just chill, take a break. It's all gonna be okay, right? The sun
That's
is
right.
out at least. You can
Yeah.
get some vitamin D. Go stand in your window and let those sun rays hit you in the morning. You need vitamin D. This is the lowest point of the year for vitamin D, everybody. If you're not taking supplements, you get it from the sun. Or you can get it from eggs. Egg yolks are very high in vitamin D. We all need our vitamin D at this point. So stand in your window, let those sun rays hit you in the morning, let it hit your face, your body, and just make it feel good. Don't stand naked in the window like Mr.
Mhm.
Weedman does to get his sun rays. Just go out there, let it hit your face a little bit. Go for a walk, get Steph fresh breath around your house or something. I'm telling you right now, you need vitamin D. So, right, Miss Weedman?
That's right.
Yeah. Remember when you were a kid and you'd wake up in the morning, right? Get ready for school or whatever you did. But you wake up and get ready for school and you'd go and brush your teeth, right?
Mhm.
If you didn't go, if you took, I had to take a shower at the night and like the
Yes,
night,
same.
right? So you'd wake up in the morning, no, you got stinky breath. And you wake up and you brush your teeth because your parents said, go brush your teeth before you have breakfast, which was weird. It should have been the opposite. You should go have breakfast first
Mhm.
and then go brush your teeth,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because now you're walking to school with some fucking chunks of fucking Fruit Loops in your tooth, or some egg or toast or waffle, Lego my Eggo kind of deal, So you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth, all minty fresh, right? Then you pour a glass of orange juice,
Ugh.
and you take that first sip, and you're like, "Whoa!" It tastes like someone mixed some fucking citrus with some just crapola in your mouth. You're just like,
Yeah.
"What is this bitter regret I got going on right now in my mouth?" You're just like, "Bleh."
Bleh.
And we've all been there. I don't know
Oh,
anybody
yeah.
that's never not happened to. I personally, like my brother and I would be like, "Oh, bleh," right, and you'd be like, "Yeah, why am I drinking this?"
Yeah.
You know?
Or you like go for the cereal.
Yeah,
That first taste of cereal,
yeah.
you just taste
Oh, it's
toothpaste.
gross.
Yeah.
There's actually a legit science reason for this weird flavor clash. And I always wanted to know why, and I
Yeah.
never like looked it up or researched it because when by the time you were a kid, after you're like in high school and you graduated, you weren't drinking orange juice anymore. I
Right.
wasn't anyway in the
Right.
morning. I was looking for coffee, from a late night or something. So I never understood why, you know And then I found this article. I was like, "Oh, I gotta talk to Mrs. Weedman about this." So it's a weird flavor clash, and it's not just mint versus orange. It's a chemistry that's going on in your mouth. So here's what's going on. Most toothpaste has an ingredient called sodium lauryl sulfate. That's the stuff that makes the toothpaste foam and feel extra clean.
Oh,
It's basically a detergent, similar to what you find in soaps.
why is that in orange juice?
No, that's in
It's that's in toothpaste?
Oh, shit.
What?
So, now your taste buds have different receptors, right? Some for sweet, some for bitter. So the sodium lauryl sulfate it suppresses sweet receptors on your tongue and breaks down fatty compounds that normally keep bitter taste in check. That means right after brushing, your tongue isn't picking up sweetness at all or very well,
Oh,
and the bitterness gets turned way up.
way up. Oh, weird.
Mhm. So when you hit that orange juice, that Tropicana that I used to like to drink,
Oh, yeah.
everybody liked good Tropicana. I when I was a
That was
kid when I
good
was a
when
kid, I
we
didn't
were
like
kids.
pulp. I didn't like pulp when I was
Minute
a kid.
Maid.
Yeah, but we had that Minute Maid was the cheaper brand, so that's
Oh,
when
was it?
Tropicana wasn't on sale, we got Minute Maid, but when we got Tropicana
Oh,
no
yeah.
pulp, my brother, Bigfoot, and I would drink the whole thing till my
Oh, I
parents would be
wanted the
pissed.
pulp.
Yeah, we didn't like pulp when we were
I
kids.
did.
When I got older, I did, but when
Right.
I was young, I wanted just straight Tropicana. It was so good, so sweet, and just so tingling on the tongue. But even that didn't withstand the fucking sodium, lauryl
Yeah.
sulfate toothpaste because we were just like, I ain't brushing my teeth until I'm not wasting Tropicana." Right?
Yeah.
Tropicana was the high end.
Yeah, it's
That
expensive.
was the good shit.
Yeah, you
And
even lived in Florida. It
oh,
wasn't any cheaper there,
no,
though.
no, it wasn't. So when that orange juice hits your taste buds, which normally is sweet with just a little tang, your mouth suddenly can't taste that sweet part anymore.
Hmm.
But everything bitter and acidic gets amplified times 10. Remember, like, you're
Yeah.
scraping that off your tongue. You're like, what the hell's
Bleh.
going on?"
Yeah.
That's why your juice goes from, fresh
To bleh.
to what the F did I just drink? In about one sip, right? It's that first sip.
Yeah.
You took "Bleh, bleh."
Bleh.
But don't panic, everybody. It's okay. Tell your kids it's gonna be okay. It's only temporary. And after a few minutes, your saliva replaces what was disrupted, and your taste buds go back to normal. So some folks even switch to SLS-free toothpaste that I didn't know you couldn't get that. So if you want to enjoy
Hmm.
their OJ right after brushing, which is still just weird to
Yeah.
me, right? So that's a weird science behind the worst morning combo since decaf coffee and dry cereal,
Hmm.
right?
Little did we know, Mr. Weedman.
I'm telling
Little
you.
did we know.
Toothpaste, then orange juice. Next time, maybe have your OJ first, or just brace yourself for that bitter ride.
Ugh.
But I mean, you're putting something acidic in your mouth, right? And you got morning breath.
Start with food and then have your OJ.
There you go. Yeah, save the OJ.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to anything acidic like oranges and lemons, you should have food in your stomach. You should just your
Oh,
stomach's
yeah.
already acid as it is, breaking down food, and all of a sudden you decide to throw some extra OJ in your stomach, but
Yeah.
just on an empty
Hello.
stomach. Hello, acidic
Hello, heartburn.
combustion. Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Weedman. She called it. Hello, heartburn.
Be nice to the belly.
That was something I never knew. Did
I
you?
didn't know that.
No.
I had no idea.
Mm-mm. Crazy stoner thoughts. This is what we try to do before when we have our banter talk bullshit stuff and before we get started with the show. We've been doing this now for like a year, right? Like been putting like a fun little article or fun little talk just to get the show warmed up a little bit.
Mhm.
And I always throw Mrs. Weedman a looper. Like I try to find, how hard it is to try to find Mrs. Weedman, to catch Miss Weedman off guard on stuff too at times.
What the heck are you talking about?
I just try to do when we do this new fun article talk
Mhm.
kind of thing, I try to throw interesting facts and loopies to
Right.
see if I catch you off guard, to see if it's like, why does that happen? It's a learning. It's a stoner thought,
Yeah.
I guess I want to call it. It's like, what
You
kind?
you got me.
I did.
Yeah.
That was good.
Trust me, I don't know everything. I don't know a lot of things. I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none.
That's good though. I love that. So you ready to get the show started?
I'm ready.
Let's do this. How much cannabis is too much, right? All right, everybody. In this article from Forbes, how much cannabis is too much? UK researchers propose safer use limits. We're digging into something that's not just like science and nerdy and stuff, but actually practical as fuck for anyone who lights up and wants to keep it smart and safe. This is what we've been teaching and preaching on this show for a very, very long time. Start low and go slow. Heavy is not always better. Keep it simple. Your endocannabinoid. I was just having this conversation with somebody today about the endocannabinoid system and about high percentage THC and why this cut is happening to so many people, which we'll go into more a little bit later. But I'm saying we're destroying our endocannabinoid system. We're destroying it. So here's the backdrop. A crew of researchers over in the United Kingdom. Yep, the same place they perfected tea, which Mrs. Weedman is drinking right now, and questionable weather, has dropped a study proposing clearer limits for cannabis use, sort of like how public health guides alcohol intake with standard drinks. But instead of drinks, this is about way more relevant to us. THC units. Say that again. THC units. How much of the psychoactive compound you're actually consuming. Now, check this, everybody. The researchers looked at both potency and quantity to come up with guidelines that works across flower, concentrates, edibles, whatever. They're basically saying if cannabis is going to be out there legally, we should have something like a standard dose so folks can think about their use the same way someone might think about a beer, a shot, or a glass of wine. Right? Because you see that on the table. You have the beer with the 12-ounce beer and how much
Mhm.
alcohol, how you have a glass of wine, 12-ounce glass, or what is it, 8-ounce glass of wine, and have the dosage on there. And then you have your 1-ounce shot of
Right.
vodka, they just say. So it just all breaks down all three. This is kind of neat, right? So they proposed that adults probably shouldn't go over 8 THC units per week. This is just their opinion. Okay. So, and that's roughly equal to 40 milligrams of THC, or about a
Hmm.
third of a gram of typical herbal cannabis. Think about it like this. If your daily routine were a balanced diet, those 8 units are like your servings, so you don't overshoot into the danger zone. Highway to
Okay.
the danger zone.
My way to the danger zone. Mm.
We're such nerds.
Dork.
Why 8 units? Because when researchers looked at big year-long study following cannabis users, the Canteen study, they found that above the mark, the risk of something called cannabis use disorder, which we just talked about a minute ago, CUD, shot up. CUD isn't just being a fan of that indica. It's when cannabis starts messing with your daily flow, cravings, losing control. It gets in the way of work, family life, kind of stuff. And here's the kicker. Above about 13 THC units per week, the risk jumps even higher. So these limits are not random numbers. They're rooted in data, not guesswork.
Hmm.
That's the difference between educated chilling and oh snap, maybe I should rethink my routine or my life. Depends on what's in your head at that point. Now the researchers are quick to remind everyone that only completely safe level of cannabis use is no use at all. And we're not going to argue with basic science there. But for people who aren't trying to quit or who use regularly, these new limits give a reference point. Sort of like, hey, I've had my standard drink. Maybe it's time for water and chill. What I like about this, and you know me, and you know Mrs. Weedman, we do a lot of research and a lot of studying and a lot of reading, is that it's not about fear mongering or calling weed bad. It's about information, context, and real talk about risk. Some folks hear risk and they think that means doom. But in health and science, risk just means something you can measure and manage. This is exactly that kind of thing that helps everyone make informed choices, from casual users to heavy chronic veterans. And remember, THC isn't the only thing in cannabis that matters, but it's the main psychoactive driver. So thinking in THC units makes more sense than some vague idea that one joint, which can mean different strengths totally depending on what you're rolling with. So that's the lay of the land from the UK, Forbes reported. Safer use guidelines that feel more grounded than just don't overdo it. This gives us a number, gives you a reference, and a starting point to talk about responsible consumption. And that's the vibe we can get behind here on the Weedman 420 Chronicles. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
I think so. Hopefully, you know, like I said, it's a study. It's coming out of the UK, which is not even legal in the UK. They have a very small medical program, and they're doing research like that. And I think it's very good that we have some kind of standards starting to be put in place with something like that, because the new consumer or the not everyday consumer or non-experienced consumer, these kind of standardizations, just like beer and wine and hard liquor, it takes the guesswork out,
Mhm.
and it gives a new
Helps people be more informed consumers.
yes, 100%. And
Yeah.
and then you can learn what your body can take, not just handing somebody a 98% a 90% cart and say, "Here, hit this 3 or 4 times, and you'll be just fine." Meanwhile, they're done.
Well, and cannabis hypersemesis syndrome, I'm probably not saying that quite right, but that's the reaction that some people have to cannabis where they get paranoid and they get nauseous. So every time then
Oh, they're not even
thereafter,
just getting nauseous, they're straight up vomiting constantly
right.
for hours, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Like you might have to be
They're
hospitalized
calling
for
it, like, stromining.
dehydration. Yeah. Right. So now they're coming up with like new
Yeah,
terminology because that like didn't put enough fear into people because it's not very common. It's actually quite rare. Maybe you could vomit from cannabis, but it doesn't mean you have cannabis hypersemesis. It's a very severe reaction.
yeah.
Um, but there's other people who like how frequently we speak to people and they say, "Oh, I used to smoke so much, and then I just got to this point I couldn't anymore. I just started getting too paranoid." And a lot of the theory on that is that you've just overconsumed THC. You were, like there's a limit with everything.
Mhm.
And there's time that your body needs to digest and to get rid of things. And so if you're just constantly taking in this high dose of THC day in and day out and day in and day out and day on, just hammering your body with THC at really high levels constantly, your body just doesn't have any time to do anything with all of it, to process it all. You're probably not even feeling that much effect from it because that tends to be what's happening is you're
Right.
kind of chasing that feeling of getting stoned and it's taking a shit ton of THC to get there. But now you've just kind of killed your endocannabinoid system and now you're not really feeling high. And so when you get to that point, like how did I get to this point? What were you talking about?
Overuse.
Overuse. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm on topic.
Yeah. Standards,
Yeah,
having
yeah, yeah, yeah.
standardization, yeah.
Having standardization so that I mean, hey, if you wanna be a wake and baker and you just wanna be fried all day long, so be it. Who fucking cares? That's you do you.
Yeah.
But if you want to have longevity and intentional use with your cannabis and feel more medical and health benefits from it, you got to kind of know what you're doing and you got to pace yourself and kind of dose yourself and you have to learn what that dose is for yourself and you probably will not experience paranoia because you're not over consuming THC.
Mhm.
So standards and all of this data and all of this research that we just always are pushing and
Mhm.
talking about needing is so that we can get to that, so we can get to this point where, hey, oh, perfect combination for me is like, like a 17% THC and like a 5% CBD. And then I want like a 8% THCV in there.
Mhm.
That's me. Mix that up for me. And I
Yeah.
want it all to come from the cannabis plant. I don't want it
Mhm.
coming from fruits and vegetables and
Like
flowers and things.
synthesized stuff.
I don't want it coming from like squashed down and over processed hemp plants.
Mhm.
I want it coming from cannabis,
Yeah.
pure.
Yeah.
I want full spectrum bud. I want everything I can get out of it.
Mhm.
Dial it in and create that strain for me.
Mhm.
Could you imagine if we can get to that?
Soon.
I mean,
It's gonna
farmers are
happen.
doing it. Farmers are doing it all day
It's
long.
gonna happen.
Yeah. So anyway, the standards would be good.
I love when Mrs. Weedman gets on her soapbox.
I got there.
It makes me feel kinda it makes me feel really funny. Like when I used to climb the rope in gym
Get
class,
out of
funny.
here. Just put yours on.
Mrs.
I'm
Weedman
plugging
gets
my
on a
earphones.
soapbox, boy, I
I
tell
can't
you
hear
what.
you. I'm
There
just drinking my
there
tea.
there's a scene from Waterboy when the coach, the real Louisiana coach, the real, he couldn't even understand him because he spoke such Southern Louisiana, and he was wearing like overalls and his no shirt on, and the water boy scored a touchdown, and he's up there smiling. He starts grabbing his nipples and pulling him, and the crowd's going wild behind him. That's what I feel like when Mrs. Weedman gets on the soapbox.
You're such a weirdo.
I am. I'm your weirdo, though.
Yeah.
So, hey, this is exciting news here.
Mm.
Hemp roots offer new opportunities for farmers and cancer research, and for cancer research for children, right? This is pretty big, and, I'm super excited about this, and remember I've always said the whole plant is medicine. I've talked about the roots, right? Ms. Weeman got up and got some more tea, and, I've talked
Recording in the
about
kitchen,
yeah,
so
we
you
are,
know.
we're still recording in the kitchen, and, but I've talked about the roots, and I've talked about, making teas out of them. This is groundbreaking stuff right here, so, Ms. Weeman,
Yeah.
take it away.
All right. In the ground, and you're gonna have to just bear with me. I'm coughing up a storm, but I'm trying. I'm drinking my tea. I've got my lozenges. I'm working on it. In a groundbreaking study, scientists at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Agricultural Research Service, redefined the value of roots in industrial hemp, providing new opportunities for industrial hemp growers and opening new avenues for pediatric cancer research. While the above ground part of cannabis sativa L plants, or industrial hemp, is widely recognized for its broad range of uses, including fiber production, grain, as a source of protein and oil, its roots have often been unutilized. This is because, until now, they were not considered to hold significant value. Dr. Corey Brownstein, a research chemist with the National Center for Agricultural Utilization Research in Peoria, Illinois, noticed a strange substance showing up in his analysis as he was studying the chemical composition of hemp roots. Intrigued by these findings, Brownstein led a team of researchers to further investigate and analyze this chemical substance to determine its precise structure. The analysis showed the substance was multiple compounds, 4 in total, that researchers predicted through structural modeling to be neolignans, natural products with similar structures formed during the plant's biological processes. Although molecules with similar properties have also been found in other plants, such as paper mulberries and a tree native to Sumatra and the Malay Peninsula, this is the first time such molecules have been isolated from hemp roots. The research team spent 3 years isolating and purifying these compounds, a process they described as complex and increasingly difficult. Due to the potential activities of the molecules, the researchers were determined to understand their nature and uncover the complete narrative behind them. The team also collaborated with scientists at the Pediatric Oncology Laboratory at the University of Illinois College of Medicine, Peoria, where a team of researchers found that these molecules showed moderate activity in killing pediatric cancer cells in the laboratory setting. Refining and understanding the effect of this molecule on pediatric cancers will open new alternatives for children's cancers that are unresponsive to current therapies. We believe this new discovery offers industrial hemp growers a potential new revenue stream from a part of the plant that was previously overlooked, said Brownstein. Unlike crops such as corn or soybeans, we have multiple uses. Hemp has been limited in scope. But if we treat hemp as a multi use crop, we can expand its application and market. Paper, grain, fiber, and now potentially pharmaceutical compounds from the roots. The discovery of these compounds adds value to this commodity. The findings published in the Journal of Cannabis Research marks the first time these specific neolignans have been isolated from hemp and linked to possessing cytotoxic effects on pediatric cancer cell lines. The team's next steps include scaling up compound extraction for larger, more controlled functional studies. They aim to explore a broad array of cancer cell lines to assess the therapeutic potential of these neolignans in greater depth. This is about opening new doors, Brownstein emphasized. We're expanding the possibilities for using the whole industrial hemp plant. By adding value to the roots, we're giving farmers more stability and more reason to invest in this emerging crop.
I like to say one thing.
Yes.
Shout out to Peoria, Illinois on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
Peoria, Illinois, baby. This
Peoria.
this research came from Peoria, Illinois. Home team. Home team.
I don't know why we have this like little spot in our heart that like just thinks Peoria
Oh,
is
I
so
love
sweet.
Peoria, Illinois.
Yeah, it's
I
just a
love it.
great
I've been
town.
traveling there when I sold beer.
Yeah.
When I sold beer,
Mhm.
you've came down there with me.
Mhm.
I have really close friends down there. I've had a lot of fun in
Mhm.
Peoria. One of the distributors who was some of the greatest people ever, the Jokishes. They always have a place in my heart.
Mhm.
All of these shops down there, all the cannabis shops that I've been going to now since 2020, since I started in the industry, uh, all of them have
Just a lot of
Peoria
yeah.
has grown in cannabis too. They're very cannabis friendly. There's something like 10 dispensaries and one in Pekin, just north of Pekin, in Pekin, just north of Peoria, and or south of Peoria, sorry. And it's just a great town. It's a great town. I mean, just great people. Good food scene, good bar scene, good dispensary scene, and they have a donut shop there. I can't remember the name of the place. It's got a big fucking rooster on the building. Remember I brought you home those glazed
Yeah,
donuts?
yeah.
The
So
best.
good.
If you don't get there by 6 o'clock in the morning, though, you're shit out of luck. And if you don't order your donuts 24 hours to pick them up at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Wow.
you're shit out of luck. There's a little old man that works in the back that does all the fucking donuts. His wife and one other person who
Wow.
takes the orders comes to the car if you need something, or he drops them out when you unbelievable business. Packed
Hmm.
7 days, 6 days a week. I think they're closed on Sundays. Packed.
Wow.
And they open at like 5 in the morning.
Hmm.
That little old man is a beast. I mean, I was there. He has his dough ball, probably 250-pound dough ball, just sitting there banging, just
Wow.
rolling, bang, psh, twirl, twist, bang, twist, boom, unbelievable. So I can't remember the name of it, but it's got a big, large rooster on the front of the fucking building. It's oh my gosh. Let's go move on. Um, this article comes from the Grant Press Tribune. Lifted, not reckless, how cannabis and fitness are finding common ground. We've talked about fitness and cannabis a bunch of times. We've talked about Mr. Weedman doesn't like smoking weed and working out. I get stuck on the bench for 15 minutes and don't move. So let me tell you, it's a vibe shift from the old school gym bros giving stink eyes to blunts rolled next to dumbbells. 10 years ago, you'd get looked at sideways for even thinking about cannabis plus workouts. Now, athletes, casual gym fans, runners, lifters, folks are talking about how cannabis fits into their exercise lives and, more importantly, how to do it responsibly. Here in Illinois, there's the Runners High Club, which is pretty neat. First up, the biggest point of the whole article: know thy body. Cannabis hits every person differently depending on tolerance, strain, dose, and how you consume it. There's no one size fits all. And the article drives home that you absolutely should not be getting high and hopping in the car. Plan your session. Smoke when you get to the gym, in your car before you go into the gym or a workout spot. Leave time after consuming, and treat cannabis like anything else that alters perception. Respect equals, or is, shouldn't say equal, is greater than regret every time. Now, let's talk why some people are into this combo. A bunch of fitness folks report that cannabis can enhance focus during workouts, especially with strains that lean, uplifting, or energizing. That's a big deal when you're doing repetitive movements or exercises that require serious mind muscle connection. I mean, if being lifted helps you dial into your breathing and techniques, that can make your reps feel cleaner and your session feel more present. And yes, and yeah, there's a pain management angle too. Some people use cannabis for reduction of discomfort, inflammation, joints stiffness, or that dreaded delayed onset muscle soreness that happens like 2 or 3 days later after a big heavy day of legs. Remember those, Mrs. Weedman? Like you don't
Now
feel
do
it.
I?
You don't feel it.
Yes.
You do legs on Wednesday. You don't feel that pain until
Until
Friday, Saturday. You're
Friday.
like fucking a. So and cannabis is good for that. um, where did I leave off? That's a win-win for fitness world. Consistency is honestly half the battle of improving strength and endurance. Endurance athletes are on this conversation too. Runners, cyclists, hikers, folks who grind long distances are saying cannabis can quit mental fatigue and dial down internal chatter. That shift from focusing on how tired you are to enjoying the groove of the movement. It's powerful for motivation and stress reduction. There's also this thing a lot of strength trainers talk about. They call it better pump. It's not that cannabis builds muscle right there on the spot, but when you're super dialed in to what your muscles are doing, you're pushing with intention. Better awareness plus good training structure plus solid rest equals improvements over time. This article makes it clear that cannabis uh, complements discipline. It doesn't replace it. I thought that was great,
Mm.
what they said on that one. But real talk, this article doesn't sugarcoat the downside. Cannabis isn't a traditional performance enhancer like creatine shake or a good protein, well-timed protein hit. If you overdo it, conditioning, balance, reaction time, all can take a hit. So too much can zap motivation or make your workout sloppy. That's where modulation and attention come in. Use it to support your training, not replace hard work or planning. One of the coolest parts, the old stigma is fading. People aren't whispering weed workouts like they did in the 90s. Cannabis is being talked about alongside supplements, recovery, tools, mindfulness practices, all pieces of personalized wellness puzzle. For adults who choose responsibly, cannabis and fitness can coexist without one clashing with the other. Bottom line, from the Grants Press Tribune piece, fitness isn't a one size fits all. Cannabis isn't a one size fits all, but with respect, self-awareness and safety in mind, being lifted and being fit no longer have to live in separate worlds.
Yay.
So here's a listener tip. If you're mixing cannabis and fitness, start low and go slow, especially before a workout. 1 or 2 puffs, not a full send. Low dose edible with a little THCV in there. Woo, and some CBC. Focus, focus, focus. So 2 milligrams of each or 1, 1, and 1. Perfect. Focus on mind muscle connection, hydration, and proper warm ups. Save heavier sessions for recovery time, not PR day. And remember, never drive, never rush, and always listen to your body. Lifted is cool, reckless is not. And look, nobody's saying you got to hit a dab and then try to max out your squats. This ain't the X Games. We're talking intention, not intimidation. If a little lift helps you lock in, breathe better, and actually enjoy the workout, cool. If it makes you want to sit on the bench scrolling your phone or not move like I do for like 15 minutes and someone comes and say, you get done with that bench, that's your sign to switch strains or save it for after. Know thyself, stay hydrated. Remember, progress is built 1 rep at a time,
That's right.
not 1 rip at a time.
Truth.
Truth will set you free. Right, Mrs
Truth.
Weedman?
Truth.
Another good article that I did not know about, and I thought this was really good. And the unexpected interaction between CBD and THC in caffeinated beverages.
Yeah, this is really interesting. And the caffeinated beverages is the big um, kind of ingredient that becomes concerning. So, a new study suggests that adding cannabidiol, commonly known as CBD, to products containing caffeine and delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC, can intensify the drug's psychoactive effects and increase impairment. That's crazy. So, CBD, like we already know, THC has been added and made into cocktails with caffeine, but now the addition of CBD, it increases it. That's crazy
Yeah.
because on the alternative, if you are high with THC and you want to mellow out your high, you can consume some CBD and it takes your high down.
Mm-hmm.
But not if there's caffeine involved,
Right.
maybe. Aha, aha.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. It's the opposite. So, the research indicates that while caffeine alone does not substantially alter the body's processing of THC, the addition of CBD changes how the body metabolizes the intoxicating compound. These findings were published in the journal Neuropsychopharmacology. The legal landscape for cannabis is shifting rapidly across the United States. State level legalization and federal provisions such as the 2018 Farm Bill have led to a proliferation of cannabis derived products. One emerging trend is in the commercial marketplace is the sale of beverages that mix cannabinoids with caffeine. These products are often marketed as energy boosters or alternatives to alcoholic drinks. Despite the growing availability of these mixtures, very little scientific data exists regarding how these chemical constituents interact within the human body. Public health officials and regulators lack precise information on whether combining stimulants like caffeine with depressants or psychoactive compounds like THC creates unique safety risks. Most existing knowledge comes from animal studies, which have suggested that caffeine might worsen memory deficits caused by THC. To address this gap in knowledge, a team of researchers led by Justin C. Strickland at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine conducted a controlled investigation. They sought to evaluate the isolated and combined effects of these substances. The researchers aimed to simulate real-world usage patterns to understand the potential risks facing consumers who purchase these premixed cocktails.
Stimulate, simulate,
Stimulate,
kind of
simulate.
same in a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The study recruited 20 healthy adults to participate in the experiment. The group was evenly divided, 10 men and 10 women. All participants had a history of using cannabis and caffeine, ensuring they were familiar with the substances, but they were not heavy or daily users. This selection criteria helped ensure the results would apply to the general population of casual consumers, rather than just chronic users with high tolerance. The investigation utilized a double blind, randomized, placebo controlled crossover design. This means that neither the participants nor the research staff knew which drug combination was being administered during any given session. Additionally, every participant underwent all 4 experimental conditions at different times. This rigorous structure allowed the researchers to compare an individual's reaction to the drug mixtures against their own baseline, reducing the influence of personal biological differences.
Crazy.
The 4 conditions included a placebo session, a session with only THC, a session with THC and caffeine, and a final session combining THC, caffeine, and CBD. The researchers chose to use a cumulative dosing schedule rather than a single large dose. Participants received 3 separate doses administered over a 2-hour period. This method was designed to model how a consumer might slowly drink a cannabis infused beverage at a social event. The total dosages administered were 7.5 milligrams of THC, 180 milligrams of caffeine, and 105 milligrams of CBD. These amounts were selected to reflect the potency of products currently available on retail shelves. Throughout the sessions, the researchers collected a wide array of data. They measured subjective feelings, such as how high or anxious a participant felt. They also tracked physiological signs like heart rate and blood pressure. Performance impairment was another key metric. The researchers tested reaction time, memory, and balance. They also used a sophisticated driving simulator stimulator
Same
to
thing.
assess whether I just got to make sure everyone's awake out there to assess whether the participants could safely operate a vehicle. Finally, the team collected blood samples to analyze the pharmacokinetics of the drugs. Pharmacokinetics refers to how a drug is absorbed, distributed, metabolized, and excreted by the body. The results regarding the combination of just THC and caffeine were somewhat unexpected, given previous animal models. The researchers found that adding caffeine to THC did not substantially change the subjective experience of being high. Participants did not report feeling more intoxicated, nor did they feel significantly more alert compared to when they took THC alone. The metabolic data confirmed this observation. Caffeine did not alter the concentration of THC in the blood.
Crazy.
However, the team did observe a subtle but potentially risky signal regarding decision making. When participants consumed the THC and caffeine mixture, they expressed a slightly higher willingness to drive compared to when they consumed THC alone. This increased confidence occurred despite the fact that their actual driving performance on the simulator remained impaired. This disconnect suggests that caffeine might mask feelings of sedation without restoring the physical and mental skills necessary for safety. The findings shifted dramatically when CBD was introduced to the combination. When participants consumed the mixture of THC, caffeine, and CBD, they reported stronger subjective effects. They felt higher and experienced more anxiety than they did with THC alone. Objective tests mirrored these reports. Performance on tasks measuring cognitive and motor skills degraded further in the triple combination condition. The blood analysis provided a biological mechanism for these intensified effects. The researchers discovered that the presence of CBD led to higher concentrations of THC in the blood plasma. Additionally, levels of 11-OH-THC were elevated. 11-OH-THC, I can't even say that, is a potent metabolite produced when the liver breaks down THC. It is known to be more psychoactive than THC itself and readily crosses the blood brain barrier. This pharmacokinetic interaction suggests that CBD inhibits the enzymes in the gut or liver that usually break down THC. By slowing this breakdown process, CBD essentially increases the bioavailability of this psychoactive compound. Consequently, a consumer drinking a beverage with both CBD and THC might absorb a higher effective dose of THC than if they had consumed the THC product in isolation. The study has several implications for consumers and regulators. It challenges the common marketing narrative that CBD is a purely non intoxicating substance that can mellow out the effects of THC. In the context of oral consumption, CBD appears to act as a potentiator.
Hmm.
It makes the psychoactive experience stronger and potentially more disorienting. There are important caveats to consider when interpreting these results. The study focused on a specific ratio of cannabinoids and caffeine. It is possible that different formulations could produce different outcomes. The sample size of 20 people is relatively small, although the subject design strengthens the statistical validity. Furthermore, the study only examined oral administration. The metabolic interactions observed here might not occur if the product was inhaled, as smoking and vaping bypass the digestive system. Further research is needed to explore a wider range of doses. Understanding whether lower amounts of CBD still trigger this metabolic interaction is essential. The researchers also highlight the need to investigate other common additives found in these beverages, such as vitamins and taurine. And as the market for cannabis beverages expands, more granular data will be necessary to inform safety guidelines. The authors note that these interactions should be a factor in regulatory decision making. Current labels often list the milligrams of THC and CBD separately. However, this study indicates that the numbers do not tell the whole story. The biological interaction between the ingredients alters the final effect on the user. Woo. In conclusion, regarding the CBD interaction, the researchers state the robust alteration of delta 9 THC induced effects and delta 9 THC pharmacokinetics by CBD further emphasizes the importance of considering full cannabinoid profiles. Broadly, this data highlights the importance of considering drug combinations and interactions in future cannabis regulatory decision making. So, if you ask me, this is a perfect cart before the horse situation. Products came to market faster than regulation and testing. So
Mm.
it's just this whole trial and error, and the hemp market blew up and they started putting all sorts of things together and nobody was stopping them and people were
Mad
buying it.
scientists.
And yeah,
Like
we have no idea what any of this shit's gonna do to
throwing
people.
stuff in the
Yeah.
fucking
A little
beaker
bit of this
bongs
and a
and
little
just
bit of
shaking it
that.
around and
Give
drinking
it to
it,
the
going, "This
people.
works. Fucking give it to
Give it to the people. They want it.
them."
And guess what? They buy
They do.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. That was a good article. That was crazy.
Yeah.
So, political, state, and business news. Congressional leaders have agreed in a new federal spending bill to continue blocking Washington, D.C. from legalizing adult use marijuana sales, keeping commercial cannabis out of the nation's capital, despite local support and years of gifting style workaround markets. The deal also wants DC officials about approving dispensaries near schools and sticks with the long standing rider that overrides DC's legalization efforts. Advocates and lawmakers are eyeing big cannabis reform in 2026, with momentum building in states like Florida, Hawaii, New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania, where legalization efforts, either ballot initiatives or legislative bills, are in motion. Federal moves like potential rescheduling could embolden local action, though opposition campaigns and legal hurdles remain part of the picture. Nebraska lawmakers introduced a bill to make the state's medical marijuana commission an elected position, giving voters direct say over cannabis regulators instead of governor appointees. Good. The proposal comes amid, especially that governor, not lieutenant governor. You don't want them fucking putting anybody in there. The proposal comes amid ongoing frustration that the current commission hasn't fully implemented the medical program Nebraskans approved at the ballot box. If passed, commissioners would run statewide starting in 2028. Texas medical marijuana program is growing fast, with more patients signing up as new dispensary licenses are being issued under the expanded compassionate use program. Increased awareness and additional businesses joining the market are helping Texans access low THC medical cannabis, though doctors' participation still lags. This expansion is pushing the state closer to broader patient access and improved regional coverage. Mississippi medical cannabis program saw solid growth in 2025, with tax revenue of about up about $500,000 year over year, and total retail sales at 139 million. Don't forget they're only medical. Active patients jumped to 66,041, roughly from 49,626 in 2024. While chronic pain and PTSD remain top qualifying conditions, flower stays the most affordable option, and the program expansion shows stronger patient participation and nationwide demand. Missouri legal market crushed another record in 2025, finishing the year with about 1.52 billion in total sales, fueled by a strong 132.6 million December. Adult use dominated roughly 1.34 billion, while medical sales stayed steady. The market average daily sales topped 4 million, showing sustained demand as Missouri cannabis industry continues to grow year after year. Montana's legal adult use cannabis market has topped $1 billion in total sales since launching on January 1st, 2022. $1 billion. Way to go, Montana.
Yeah.
With 90% of 2025's 327 million annual sales coming from adult use and nearly 60 million in tax revenue collected. That's good. That's fucking awesome. Good for you, Montana. Meanwhile, medical purchases have sharply declined, shifting the market towards recreational demand as dispensary sales continue steady growth. Don't ever forget about medical, everybody. It's what got you to the dance. Nearly 3 in 5 Indiana residents now support legalizing cannabis for medical and adult use as lawmakers prepare reform bills for the 2026 session, reflecting widening public support in a traditionally prohibition-minded state. The poll underscores growing pressure on the legislature to move on legalization, even as full reform efforts are just beginning to take shape. Representative Bob Morgan in Illinois introduced House Bill 4306, a fresh cannabis reform proposal in Illinois that tweaks the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, adds new definitions, update license rules, expands dispensaries' drive-through and pickup options for patients and caregivers, and adjusts investigations, taxes, fees, and permit provisions. How about making sure that all dispensaries in the state can sell medical? You should put
Sure.
that in there too, signaling another attempt at moving statewide cannabis reform forward. Federal health official shared a new study data showing teen marijuana use increased with broader state legalization, and teens actually report it's harder to access cannabis while perceiving more risk and rising disapproval. This runs contrary to opponents' longtime fears that legal markets would flood the youth with weed. License regulation and age checks seem to be working. Now over to you, Mrs. Weedman. I'm passing that J.
Yep, yep. I've got more political, state, and business news. Vermont's medical cannabis patient count is climbing again, with the registry seeing roughly 90% increase in patients and a big jump in caregivers as demand grows for therapeutic weed across the state. While supply challenges and strain availability remain issues for some, the program's expansion shows more Vermonters turning to cannabis for health needs. California's legal weed was once touted as the golden goose, but now tax revenue has plummeted about 80%. Legal sales are less than 40% of total cannabis commerce, and heavy regulations are squeezing growers and retailers so hard some are teetering on closure. Critics say red tape has crushed the industry's promise. Animal Face has emerged as the top selling cannabis strain on the East Coast in 2025, topping sales data across 14 markets from Maine to Florida. This indica leaning cross of Animal Mints and Fire OG outpaced classics like Khalifa Kush and GMO, while West Coast favorites like Blue Dream didn't even crack the East Coast top 10, showing regional tastes still vary big time. Joe Rogan sounded genuinely surprised when Senator Rand Paul told him that some marijuana businesses and the alcohol industry actually teamed up to support a federal ban on most hemp derived THC products. Huh, go figure. Paul's remarks came during a recent Joe Rogan Experience interview as he discussed the contentious hemp THC ban included in a federal spending bill. That doesn't surprise me. Does it surprise you at all, Mr. Weedman?
Not at all.
Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of America backed Republican James Baird's bill, H.R. 7024, to extend the federal hemp production compliance deadline from 1 year to 3, giving Congress and states more time to craft a responsible regulatory framework for intoxicating hemp products. WSWA warns that rushing could push consumers into unregulated markets, and he says smart oversight beats chaos. Nice. Oklahoma Rep. Andy Fugate? I forget, filed House Bill 3018 to fix a quirk in the state's DUI law that could penalize legal medical marijuana patients just because THC lingers in the blood long after actual impairment. The bill would exclude marijuana and it would exclude marijuana and derivatives from aggravated DUI blood tests while keeping common sense field sobriety checks intact. Tennessee legislators filed Bill SB 1603 to have the Tennessee Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations study whether the state is ready for a medical marijuana program by evaluating how state and local agencies could implement and manage it. It doesn't legalize medical cannabis yet, but could lay groundwork if lawmakers decide to move forward. A Virginia lawmaker filed a bill to finally legalize and regulate recreational marijuana sales and raise the adult possession limit from 1 to 2.5 ounces. The proposal reflects ongoing efforts to move beyond home grow possession only and build a licensed retail cannabis marketplace in the Commonwealth. That's a big step toward converting Virginia's long elusive legal weed market into reality. Georgia lawmakers say recreational marijuana legalization isn't coming in 2026, even as federal rescheduling talks heat up. Instead, they're focusing on tightening hemp and medical cannabis regulations, oversight of potent unregulated products, and expanding qualifying conditions for the existing low THC medical program. Lawmakers emphasize marijuana remains illegal under state law unless separate legalization action passes. Jeez. The Senate just approved a federal spending bill headed to President Trump's desk that extends longstanding protections preventing the DOJ from interfering in state medical marijuana programs, but leaves out a House proposal to block cannabis rescheduling. Advocates were glad the state protections stayed, even as rescheduling language was dropped, keeping this year's medical cannabis shield intact.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. There are big steps forward and backward in cannabis all around the world. Let's hope 2026 brings some order and direction for a positive path forward. Back over to you, Mr. Weedman.
Thanks, Mrs Weedman. Kentucky's medical cannabis program just hit another milestone with the opening of its second licensed dispensary, Speakeasy Dispensary in Lexington, expanding patient access beyond the first shop in Beaver Dam. Governor Andy Bashar noted dispensaries, cultivators, processors, and compliance labs are now operational, meaning the state's medical marketplace is coming alive, giving more registered patients real access to their medicine. Support for adult use marijuana legalization in Florida has cooled below 60%. Threshold needed to pass the constitutional amendment. Not again. As Governor Ron DeSantis' administration wages what critics call a political war to thwart the 2026 ballot campaign and audit petition signatures. Despite Smart and Safe Florida's push, recent polling shows voter support dipping amid the ongoing legal fight. 2024 was the year to do it, Florida. They're putting more money behind it and trying to stop it every single way. That was the year you missed it. And I'm hoping and praying 2026 it gets on the ballot. And this time you get another 3 to 7% to come out and make sure it passes. But it's looking grim right now. FL, let's go. No fucks, Florida. Let's go. In Piqua, Ohio, cannabis dispensaries generate more than $400,000 in tax revenue that city leaders are now going to use to maintain and upgrade 16 parks. That is so good to see tax dollars going in the right direction. Cannabis tax dollars, including the beloved Mote Park where families play. Local residents hope that the funds will bring more community events and improvements instead of letting the space sit idle. Cannabis cash turning green buds into green spaces. A campaign by Ohioans for cannabis choice to put the referendum on the ballot to overturn the Senate Bill 56 hit a roadblock when the Ohio Attorney General rejected its petition summary as misleading and inaccurate. Petitioners must fix the language and resubmit before they can move forward, while with giving voters a say on repeating the controversial cannabis law changes. A bipartisan group of U.S. senators filed a bill to delay the federal ban on hemp-derived THC products for 2 more years, aiming to give industry stakeholders time to negotiate regulatory approach instead of prohibition. The delay effort affects growing pushback against the looming ban and interest in creating workable safety and oversight frameworks. Delaware lawmakers introduced a bill that will let terminally ill medical marijuana patients use their medicine inside healthcare facilities as long as they hold a valid state registry card. The measure, backed by Representative Pinkney and colleagues, would require hospitals and similar facilities to promote on-site cannabis use, updating practices to support better comfort and care for seriously ill patients. That's great. West Virginia has collected $34 million from medical cannabis taxes we talked about some time ago, fees and interest, but hasn't spent a dime on research, treatment, or law enforcement training as state law intended. The Treasurer's Office says the fund sits in limbo due to marijuana Federal One status, with no clear timeline for spending plan despite lawmakers' calls for action. That's some crap right there, I tell you what. Give that money to the people. Missouri Cannabis Regulation updated their guidance on whether medical marijuana patients can also buy cannabis as adult consumers after confusion and complaints that old rule was unconstitutional. Regulators now say state law isn't clear and patients must still stay within the 6 ounce per 30-day limit and can't combine medical and adult purchases exceeded it, leaving buyers and dispensaries to interpret it themselves. Michigan's legal weed world is hitting a rough patch. 2025 marked the first annual sales decline since adult use launched, with about 3.7 billion sold. I don't feel bad. 3.7 billion is a lot of money. Down from 2024. Prices have plunged as supply swamps the market, forcing closures and layoffs while active licenses drop. A controversial 24% wholesale tax is now in effect, adding to the already heavy levies and sparking challenges. Meanwhile, lawmakers are pushing a statewide cannabis reference lab bill to standardize testing and curb lab shopping, aiming to tighten quality oversight as the industry navigates major growing pains. There is one thing Michigan should be looking at. Michigan's legal market has generated $13.23 billion in recreational sales since the start of adult use in 2019.
That's some serious business.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
I understand you got to dip in sales. You got to think too. It's not that you're not getting less customers. It's your prices are so fucking cheap. If I can get 1,200 milligrams of edibles there for fucking $25, five packs, 6 packs of 200 milligrams for $25, One pack here of 100 milligram in the state of Illinois, if it's not on sale, cost you $22.
Hmm,
Now think about it.
right.
6 packs at $20, $120. Your 3.7 billion, you would have sold a little bit more there. You price compressed yourself so bad. I get it, but I'm just saying. I mean, but still, $13.23 billion dollars in recreational since 2019 is fucking sick. Insane. Insane. In the membrane. Money, right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's it.
Jeez. 2026, right? The year of the great cannabis battles. 2026 is going to be shaping up to be the battleground for the cannabis plant in the United States of America. And this is a good article written by Reginald Reefer.
Yep, here we
Tell us
go.
about it.
Since 2012, when Colorado and Washington became the first states to legalize recreational cannabis, the trajectory seemed clear. Forward. State after state, the dominoes fell. Public support grew. The industry flourished. Medical patients found relief. Tax revenues poured in. And the sky didn't fall. It felt inevitable that cannabis prohibition's days were numbered. But something changed about 2 years ago. The rhetoric shifted, the narratives evolved. The opposition, which had seemed resigned to defeat, suddenly found new energy, new funding, and new strategies. And now, as we enter 2026, we're facing what can only be described as an existential threat to cannabis legalization. Multiple states are considering rolling back their legal markets entirely. Federal rescheduling turned out to be a corporate giveaway rather than real reform. Hemp bans are crushing a thriving industry. The propaganda machine is working overtime with scromiting. Have you heard that one yet? We just talked about cannabis hypersemesis syndrome. Well, apparently that wasn't scaring people enough. It was too clinical, it was too medical sounding, too easy to research. And uh, people would then find out that it was actually quite rare. So now they've created a scary new term and they've flooded the media with stories about it. They trigger public panic and watch as people question whether cannabis is really safe like they thought it was. It's the same strategy that they have used for decades, just with new packaging. Big pharma tactics, people. So, this is not business as usual. This is a coordinated, well funded assault on cannabis freedom. As Kyle Yeager wrote in a recent Marijuana Moment op ed, legal marijuana access faces an existential threat in 2026, and we must fight back. He's absolutely right. This is the year we either defend the gains we've made or we watch them erode under a renewed prohibitionist offensive backed by pharmaceutical money, law enforcement lobbying, and political opportunism. 2026 is the year of the great cannabis battles, and we need every advocate, every patient, every consumer, and every rational human being to show up and fight. How did we get here? Well, let me be clear about what's happening. This isn't organic grassroots concern about public health. This is a calculated, multi pronged strategy to roll back legalization by any means necessary. Multiple states with existing legal cannabis markets are facing serious campaigns to repeal legalization entirely. These efforts are funded by big pharma interests, alcohol industry lobbying, and private prison corporations, law enforcement agencies who are protecting drug war budgets, and parent groups funded by pharmaceutical companies. Congress effectively killed the $32 billion hemp derived cannabinoid industry, putting 150,000 plus jobs at risk and handing the market back to cartels and black market operators. Trump's reform, quote unquote, turned out to be exactly what critics predicted, a big pharma giveaway that creates pharmaceutical grade compliance requirements small businesses can't afford while doing nothing for consumers or criminal justice. Coordinated media campaigns around scromiting, heart problems, mental health crises, and potency panics, all timed perfectly to coincide with legalization debates and repeal efforts. Even in legal states, new regulations are making it harder for businesses to operate, reducing product variety and pricing out small operators in favor of large corporations. This is not coincidence, people. This is strategy. And it's working because cannabis advocates have become complacent. We thought we'd won. We thought the momentum was irreversible. We thought public opinion had shifted permanently. We were wrong. The prohibitionists never gave up. They just changed tactics. And now they're coming for everything that we've built. Why does 2026 matter more than ever? Because several states will vote on whether to maintain their legal markets. If even one state successfully repeals, it provides a blueprint for prohibitionists everywhere and shifts the narrative from inevitable progress to reversible mistake. Schedule 3 implementation, if it happens, will determine whether the federal framework supports or crushes state markets. Hemp bans take effect. Enforcement priorities shift. The uncertainty alone is damaging markets and deterring investment. The opposition is better funded than ever. Pharmaceutical companies are pouring money into anti cannabis efforts. They've learned from their losses and adapted their messaging. They're using public health language while protecting private profits. Public opinion can still shift. Despite majority support for legalization, the support is not deeply rooted. Fear campaigns work. Misinformation spreads. Without active counter messaging, prohibitionists can erode public support gradually. The legal cannabis industry is vulnerable. Banking restrictions, tax burdens like the 280E, and regulatory compliance costs have left many businesses on shaky ground. A coordinated attack during this vulnerable period could collapse markets. This is the inflection point. We either defend legalization aggressively in 2026 or we watch the rollback accelerate in 2027, 2028, and beyond. So, what do? How do we fight back against well funded opposition, coordinated propaganda, and political hostility? We get loud, we get smart, and we update our talking points for 2026. Here's your playbook for defending cannabis freedom this year. Core Principle 1: Adult access is about freedom. When discussing recreational legalization, this is about giving adults who pay taxes, work, and contribute to society a choice of recreational substances other than alcohol. We're talking about adult freedoms. Counter their protect the children rhetoric. We protect kids the same way we do with alcohol. Age verification, penalties for sales to minors, and honest education. Legal regulated markets actually reduce youth access. Boom. Core Principle 2: Cannabis is safer than alcohol. When they claim cannabis is dangerous, cannabis is safer than alcohol by every measurable metric. Professor David Nutt conducted comprehensive research creating an index of drug dangers and societal impacts. Alcohol ranks as the most harmful substance, or one of them, while cannabis ranks far lower. Boom. Core principle number 3: legalization creates safety through regulation. When they talk about black markets and crime, well, that's just not what this is about. Legal cannabis creates jobs, it generates tax revenue, and makes products safer through testing and regulation. Under prohibition, that revenue goes to cartels and criminals. Hello? Under legalization, it funds schools, roads, and public health programs. We have legal cannabis in multiple states for over a decade now. We have data. Society hasn't collapsed. Teen use hasn't skyrocketed. Crime hasn't increased. Tax revenues are in the billions. These aren't theories, these are facts. Core principle number 4: evidence over fear. When they cite health concerns, I agree that nothing is without risk, which is why it's important to study, research, and educate people about cannabis. But here's the irony: prohibition prevents research. Under prohibition, we can't study it properly. Under legalization, research entities have access And we learn more than ever, allowing us to properly inform people before they use it. Come on, it's so simple. Acknowledge concerns while demanding honesty. Like this has got to be like a conversation. It's like when you are just hammering someone and telling somebody and barking at somebody why cannabis is good, you're not going to get their attention. Bring it down to just a level headed conversation and have answers. Counter their objectives,
Mhm.
counter their objections.
Yeah.
That's the better
Handle
word.
those objections too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Acknowledge concerns while demanding honesty. Yes, cannabis affects the developing brain. So does alcohol. So does sugar. So do smartphones. We manage these risks with age restrictions and education, not blanket prohibition. Let's be honest about risks while also being honest about relative safety. Core principle number 5, home growing is a fundamental right.
Yes.
When they oppose cultivation, cannabis is a plant. People should have the right to grow their own food and medicine at home. If you don't need to be dependent on big pharma or corporations for your health, you should have that right. This is basic self sufficiency and autonomy. And connect that whole principle to broader principles. The right to cultivate plants for personal use is fundamental to liberty. Governments don't belong in your garden dictating what you can grow for personal consumption. Period.
Mhm.
Boom. Boom. You like that? Boom.
I like boom.
Core principle number 6, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That's a boom right there.
A fundamental argument. Your life, liberty, and your pursuit of happiness are inalienable rights. No politician should convince you otherwise.
None.
If cannabis contributes to your happiness, your health, or your quality of life, and you're an adult harming no one, it's your right. The government exists to protect your rights, not dictate your personal choices.
Mhm.
This is the principle that cannot be compromised. So use these points effectively and stay principled. These talking points aren't about winning arguments. They're about stating fundamental truths that remain valid regardless of political climate or propaganda campaigns. Don't get defensive. You're not asking for special permission. You're asserting fundamental rights. Frame it that way. And use comparisons. Alcohol is your best friend in these debates. It's legal, it's dangerous, and everyone understands it. Cannabis is safer, period. And cite evidence. Refer to actual studies, real data, concrete examples from legal states. Just don't make claims that you can't back up because you're going to lose legitimacy.
Have them listen to the Weedman 420 Chronicles.
Yeah. And acknowledge concerns without conceding the argument. Yes, there are risks. That doesn't mean therefore prohibition. It means therefore education and regulation.
Mhm.
And make it personal. Tell people why you use cannabis. I use it because of a medical condition. I use it to relax. I use it to get creative. It helps me with this or it helps me with that. Why should it be illegal when alcohol, which is dangerous, is sold in every grocery store? And then turn it back on them. Why are you more concerned about adults using cannabis than alcohol deaths, the pharmaceutical opioid crisis, or how about actual violent crime? Why are you worried about weed? Essentially, fight or fall back because we're losing ground. The momentum that felt inevitable 3 years ago has stalled. The opposition has regrouped, refinanced, and returned with better tactics. They're not just defending prohibition anymore, they're actively rolling back legalization gains. Multiple states may repeal their legal markets in 2026. The federal hemp industry is being destroyed. Schedule 3 benefits corporations while screwing consumers. Propaganda campaigns are shifting public opinion. Small businesses are being crushed by compliance costs and banking restrictions. If we don't fight back loudly, aggressively, and strategically, we will lose. But here's what gives me hope. We have truth on our side. Cannabis is objectively safer than alcohol. Legalization demonstrably works better than prohibition. Adult freedom is a fundamental right. The prohibitionists have money, but we have facts. They have fear, but we have experience. They have corporate backing, but we have grassroots passion. This is winnable. but only if we actually fight. So here's what I'm asking from every person hearing this: show up, attend town halls, contact representatives, vote in local elections, join advocacy organizations. Don't assume someone else will do it. Speak up, use these talking points. Educate your family, challenge misinformation, write letters to editors, comment on social media, make your voice heard.
Mm,
Support the industry, buy from legal sources when possible, support small businesses over corporations, help legitimate operators survive the assault. Donate to reform organizations like NORML, Marijuana Policy Project, Drug Policy Alliance. These groups need funding to counter pharmaceutical lobby money. Don't let them take your weed. Seriously, this is about more than cannabis. It's about freedom, autonomy, and the right to make personal choices.
mm.
If we let them roll back cannabis legalization, what next? 2026 is the year of great cannabis battles. The prohibitionists are coming for everything we've built. They're well funded, well organized, and highly motivated. But so are we. Or at least we better be. Because if we sit this one out, we lose. So let's stand up, fight back, and defend our rights. Our rights. The stakes couldn't be higher. The time to act is now. Get out on the battlefield, cannabis family. Bring your facts, your passion, and your refusal to back down, because we're not going backward, not without one hell of a fight.
Mm. Oh, Mrs. Weedman, you read that to the T right there. Oh, I got the chills.
Whoa.
Oh, my,
Except for when I stuttered on that
I,
word,
who
like in that
cares?
very
You read
important
that to
moment.
the T. It was amazing. Oh, Reginald Reefer,
Good writing.
phenomenal, phenomenal. Like to the T of everything in that article was absolutely. I hope you should. If you know people that don't listen to weed podcasts, there's 1,600 of them out there. Let them listen to that. There's your argument right there. Listen to that one part Mrs. Weedman talks about, that whole article. I'm telling you right now, we'll list it too as a reference. We always do with all the articles we read, but look at that one and drill it in your fucking brain. Like, this is a fight. I see it every day. The Weedman costume's gonna have to come back out
You
again,
might.
and I'm gonna have to go dun dun
Dun,
dun on
dun,
my little red
dun.
scooter and holding up, not legalize it anymore. Free
Keep it free.
the plant.
Plant.
Free the plant.
That's right.
Mr. Weedman. Weedman 420 is gonna have to come out again. Dun dun dun.
It's been a minute.
Has been. Might have to go to the Bean and hold the sign up again and start
Yeah.
going around the city again, handing out edibles and a little golf cart and a little scooter again. And come on now, let's go, peeps. This is a fight. No one said this wasn't
In
gonna
a
be
golf
easy.
cart. You were not in a golf
No,
cart.
I was in a little red scooter, but a golf cart would be great. All painted green with my logo and your logo on there, and you and your fuck the DA outfit. Oh hell yeah, we might have to do this again, Ms. Wee Man. Coming out of retirement. A new poll finds, this is international news, everybody. New poll finds that even 70 years after Canada legalized cannabis, British Columbians and Quebecians are less likely than other provinces to buy all their weed from licensed retailers. While 65% of Canadians support legalization, in BC, only 42% and 41% of users report buying all cannabis legally, showing older consumers still cling to pre-legalization sources and traditional market habits. The International Cannabis Business Conference, the ICBC, is heading back to Belgium, April 13th to the 15th, 2026, bringing Europe's largest, longest-running cannabis B2B event in an iconic Estrel Berlin hotel. With Germany pushing continental policy modernizations and growing legal markets, ICBC promises timely presentations, expert panels, and global industry networking for brands, investors, and operators shaping the future of international cannabis commerce. Guam officials and industry stakeholders are hosting a cannabis industry summit to map out how finally to get the territory's legal market off the ground, tackling persistent bureaucratic delays, testing lab bottlenecks and regulatory headaches, and have stalled businesses' licensings and sales despite adult use legalization years ago. The summit aims to bring clarity and momentum to growers, regulators, and would-be retailers alike. Just get your shit together. Dutch customs at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport intercepted 3,200 kilograms of THC-laced wine gums and honey shipped from U.S. flagged by sniffer dogs during cargo checks. The THC-infused sweets and honey bound for European markets were seized under Dutch drug laws, then turned over to customs and intelligence teams to destruction amid safety concerns about accidental ingestion. Cannabis Africa reports that South Africa regulatory gray zone has spawned an unregulated boom of private cannabis clubs and dispensary-style spots, with at least 2,000 operating under the radar. Most don't follow true membership models and functions like quasi-dispensaries, driving because national cannabis laws still lack clear commercial frameworks, turning the market into something resembling the Wild West rather than the regulated industry. Jersey, not the place I was born, the country, Jersey lawmakers are gearing up to vote on decriminalizing small amounts of cannabis, shifting the convo from courts to public health. Supports say criminalizing users just wreck lives, especially when medical cannabis is already legal for some. Health officials want regulation out in the open, while doctors warn legalization elsewhere brought spikes in kid poisonings and mental health risk. Big vote hits February 3rd. After Germany's 2024 legalization of home cannabis cultivation, about 10% of adults report having grown weed at home, and most people view legalization positively. Supports for reform are tied more to personal experience and expectations than fear, though some worry it could cost overall use. Those with cultivation experience showed the highest support and optimisms about outcomes. And that is international news, everybody. And we're going to finish it off with Mrs. Weedman talking a little bit about more than a third of hip hop music videos feature cannabis marijuana, and this was a government funded study.
That's an important thing to know about, right? Good thing to spend the money on.
Government funded study. Okay, great.
Okay. I need to take another hit.
There you go for that one.
Yeah. More than a third of popular U.S. hip hop and rap music videos referenced marijuana in 2024, according to a new study that was government supported. Artists like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre have helped drive that trend by promoting a chilled lifestyle, the researchers said. According to the analysis, which was funded by the Ministry of Justice and Health in the German state of Schleswig Holstein, 37% of U.S. hip hop and rap videos from 2024 YouTube top 100 charts featured cannabis references, while 41% of hip hop and rap music videos talked about cannabis. The study from researchers at the German Institute for Therapy and Health Research found that only 2% of songs in other genres originating in the U.S. mentioned marijuana. That was a run-on sentence, wasn't that? I feel like that one went on for a bit. Cannabis has been firmly anchored in the U.S. hip-hop scene since the 1990s and has been particularly influenced by artists from the American West Coast, the study published in the journal Substance Use and Misuse says. Historically, cannabis has been embedded in American hip hop culture through the Afro Caribbean and African American subculture and is favored by widespread legalization, they said. Hip hop and rap has helped inform culture and policy over the years, and it will come as no surprise that Snoop Dogg's influence in the U.S. continues to play a role in the U.S. in this movement. Weldon Angelos, a cannabis activist, I can't get my words out. I think I'm going to put that joint down. Weldon Angelos, a cannabis activist and music producer who worked with Snoop Dogg, told Marijuana Moment that hip hop didn't just reflect cannabis culture, it helped normalize it. I was first exposed to marijuana through artists like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and years later I ended up working alongside them in studios where cannabis was simply part of the creative process. Angelos, who received a presidential pardon for a marijuana-related conviction during the first Trump administration, said. That visibility mattered because millions of people were watching and listening, he said. Long before the laws changed, hip hop helped shift public perception and move cannabis from something taboo into the mainstream, helping them make reform possible. Snoop acquired the music label Death Row Records in 2022, and the cannabis icon has been leveraging that legacy platform to create an intersection between culture and the plant. While he might be best known as a prolific consumer, Snoop has also advocated for reform, which includes calling for policy change in the NBA so that players could freely use cannabis off the court. He said last year that he supported the reform based on the medical side of it, the health benefits, and how it could actually help ease opioid use, pills they've been given, and injections. So keep fighting the good fight, Snoop. We hear you.
Yeah, love it, love it. Yeah, I mean, you know me, I've been listening to hip hop since
Forever.
yeah, since like '78 when I first heard it on the radio in the Bronx, New York. So, and we were buying tapes from people. I mean, I was young, but I mean, I had an older cousin, so and that's how I got to learn about hip hop music. Then breakdancing hit, and it was all about hip hop for me. I mean, and
But marijuana didn't show up in hip hop until like MTV,
oh no,
late 80s,
oh
early
no,
90s. It was in old music videos.
oh yeah, not
No,
videos,
because there
but
wasn't
songs,
anything.
but
No, I
songs.
know, but
Yeah, you're talking
we're
about
talking about the
videos.
visual
Yes,
part of
yes,
it.
yeah. I mean, there was no
You would
video.
hear them talk about it, but you
Yeah,
wouldn't see them smoke it
no,
until, like, the
but
90s.
yes, you're
Yeah,
100% correct.
and that is the whole, like, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg
Mhm.
influence, and it
Yes.
really that if you think about that, it really did normalize it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot for
a
us
lot.
anyway.
Mhm.
I mean, it was normal regardless, but it made it more mainstream, I
Yeah.
guess, and people were starting in the '90s to really talk more about their weed use,
Mhm.
you know? Yeah, so good for hip hop. I love you, hip hop. You make me happy. Ms. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman,
that's the end of this show.
that's all.
Got anything else to say before we go?
Everybody have a great week. If you are in the Midwest, stay warm and seek shelter. If you're having issues with heat at your home, don't try to tough it out because it's going to be
Oh,
cold.
yeah.
It already is, but it's just going to keep getting colder.
Yeah, so,
So stay safe, stay warm, stay lit, all that good stuff.
yep, drink some hot cocoa too.
Cocoa, cocoa.
Hey, everybody out there, we love you. Thanks for listening, sticking with us all these years. We appreciate you. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a ninth decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.